Hi guys, very good evening. Welcome to the another episode of Friday Special. Now, have you ever been asked by your managers or colleagues that can you create a formula, VLOOKUP formula which can return the second, third, fourth or fifth or whatever instance of a lookup value? You just go and write the formula and you press enter and you get that instance number. We have a difficulty, we have a problem, a challenge in VLOOKUP. It always finds the first instance. Now, if you have, let's say, 10 Andys in your database, what if you want to find out 9th Andy or maybe 5th Andy? And you don't want to take the help of those extra formulas, you don't want to create any helper columns. I'm saying that, can we not just go and simply write the VLOOKUP and press enter, and that should give us what we want? Have you ever been bothered by this type of a thing? I'm sure if you're working in data all the time, this is a kind of a challenge for us, right? But today video will teach you, I will teach you that this is so easy. We are going to make a VLOOKUP formula in VBA by creating our own UDF, user defined function. This is going to be super awesome video, and also this is special for those students, for those professionals who think that VBA is not really that good. No. This will change your perception about VBA. VBA can do a lot of things, amazing things. I've created this code in a manner that it can work anywhere. Alright, so what are we waiting for? Let's go and start this Friday special, and I will wait for your comments. I will wait for in case if you are not able to understand anything, let me know in the comment section. Okay, so let us begin this. We have to go and create a user-defined function which is called UDF, also in VBA. Now, when you create the function on your own, then you can decide what parameters you want to give, how many parameters do you want to give, and the parameter data type as well, right? So in this now example, because we are looking for, let's say, Andy's second position score or third position score, or any instance, let it be third, fourth, fifth, sixth, whatever, right? We have to make our formula dynamic. So the first thing, the plan is that we will tell the user that first of all, select Andy, the lookup value, and then go in a table where actually your name is located, so that we can run the loop quickly and we can see where is that Andy available. At the same time, we will also tell the user to write in the function that which Andy does he or she wants. For example, is it the first instance or the second instance, right? And at the same time, another parameter we will add that once the Andy is found, for example, user said, I want this second Andy in this table. So when your loop stops here, you have to go and pick either this or this, depending upon which column number user will go and write it. And this is also quite similar with the Excel VLOOKUPs, where you go and write, everything in this way. You select the lookup, you select the table, you give the column number, and you say that, okay, I want the exact match. But here we don't want the exact match, because our function will always go for the exact match. Instead of here, we will go and see what is the instance I'm looking for this Andy. Alright, so let's quickly begin with this. So there are four parameters I want to design here. You got the point, right? In the four parameters, the first parameter is going to be my lookup, where I can just go and choose whatever name I want to select, for example, Andy. Then we will go and say the table, give us the table. In that table, it is always going to be a single column. Yes, I'll tell you why. So you have to tell the user that this is going to be a single column, so that we can easily go and run the loop starting from the beginning, that where is Andy. Okay, and third thing which we want to tell the user is that what is actually the column index number for your header. Okay, for your header, like in this case it is a score, so you need to tell that how far is a score from this column. In this case, it's going to be what? It's going to be first, second, and the third column. So this is something you have to tell the user. If this is score is here, then obviously column will change. Okay, and then the last thing is that instance number. You are looking for the second Andy, so you have to just go and write there 2. If you're looking for first Andy, you go and write 1. If you're looking for third Andy, you can go and write 3. So with this kind of a vision planning, we are starting this UDF, user defined function. It's pretty easy. Let's go to the developer tab and let's quickly go in the module here. Okay, and first of all here we will write whatever name you want to write. For example, I'm gonna write VLOOKUP because I want to be famous in my company. So I want that when my people, my colleagues will use this kind of a function, they will always remember me, right? What a way to be immortal, isn't it? Well, I'm just kidding, but you can give a name whatever you want to give. Remember, I'm using option compared text. Why I'm using it? When you write the option compared text in the beginning, your if in VBA becomes case insensitive. Do you know that? Did you know that? I'm sure 70% of you may not be even knowing that in Excel, if statements are case sensitive. Yes. And if you want to make them case insensitive, always use this option compared text. You just need to write it on the top of the module. All right. So here we are going to write the four parameters, I beg your pardon. So the first one is my lookup actually value. So I will go and say that my lookup. So you can write whatever you want, right? So I'm just going to write here my lookup. Okay, and lookup has to be of, in this case, it is of string data type. So I'm just going to use the string data type, or you can use the variant as well. It's up to you. Okay, because in variant, then we don't have to worry about the data type. But remember that variant takes a lot of space in memory. Okay, so wisely choose the data type. The second thing is that I'm going to say my range as range, which is actually my table, right? Remember. And then the another thing is the column index number. So here I'm just going to write column index number. Okay, so I'm going to write here the column index number as byte, because I don't think so you will have more than 255 columns in Excel sheet, right? And the last one is the nth instance. Again, I'm just going to write this name as nth so that it can be more readable, easily understandable. Okay, so this is again going to be a byte data type, because well, this can be long as well. You just go and decide, because ultimately this means that you cannot go beyond 255. So I'm imagining that my Andy, Cheryl, Matt in this database, whatever size it has, they are not going to be repeated more than 255 times. Otherwise, you can always go and give this a long data. So let me widen the screen, and now let us quickly go and start the things. Okay, now the first thing is that let's put the break code here in order to check the things. So this is how now I will use my VLOOKUP. Okay, so once you use the VLOOKUP, you have to select what H3, whatever lookup you have, and then please tell the user that you have to go and select only the first column. Okay, the same column where this lookup is available. And afterwards, if you remember, we have to go and tell that how far this score column is from this name. Now you know that this is basically first column, this is second column, and this third, because if you're starting from here, this has to be 1. Okay, you need to understand this. So I go and write here 3, and then what is the nth instance, which instance I want for Andy. Okay, now in this case, let's say I want Andy second instance, so you go and write here second. Okay, now the thing is that in the UDF you can't show the parameter names over here, so maybe you can create some glossary sheet, and you can give some good amount of description to your users, right? You can choose whatever way you want. You can send out the description in email, or maybe you can write it somewhere here as well. Okay, so that they should never be confused between this 3 and 2. Now the moment I enter this, I press enter, this is what you need to see now. I have got Andy. My range will also be there. My column index number is 3 and my nth instance, which is 2, available. Now we have got everything over here. Okay, so now the first thing is that I have to find out this Andy where in this very range, because the range selected by the user is C1 to C11. So for that, we will simply go and write collection loop. You just go and say that my cell as range, and for each my cell in my range, which is already defined by the user, my range, remember this one. Okay, so this is how we will go and write the collection loop. Now in this cell, now what happens if you go and run this loop? Basically what happens, every cell will be calculated one by one, right? So this is our collection loop. I'm sure you must be knowing about this. Okay, so collection loop doesn't need further instructions. Okay, once you tell the collection loop this is your range, they automatically starts looping the values. So every time you will have here in this collection loop name Andy, Sharon, Matt, Rajiv, so we keep on checking the things, right? So for that, what I will do, I will simply say that if my lookup, the lookup which is coming from Excel, right? If that lookup is equals to mycell.Value, remember that this is your Andy, right? This is your Andy, and this will keep on changing one by one. So at the point in time, when you go and find this Andy, then the next thing is that you need to also find, is this the second Andy, third Andy, or first Andy? What is it? That basically is decided by this nth parameter. Okay, so for that, what we will do, let me reset the code. We will go and write here a kind of counter. Okay, I'm just going to write here counter and as, let's say, long, and you will start the counter as 1. Okay, so the first time when this loop runs, we have to go and see if this Andy is equals to the collection loop Andy. If it is yes, then the next thing which you have to do, very important, that if your counter is equals to this value called the nth value, because this is very important. If they are also same, then that is what exactly the instance of Andy we are targeting, isn't it? So then we will store that information in that variable, and we will create a here a store variable as well. So I just go and give it a variant data type. Okay, now the thing is that, so once you have this, the store, what it has to be. Now you see that, suppose you are here on the third instance. Let me reset this. Suppose you are here, okay, or maybe anywhere, right? Now let's just go and, now when you're here, what exactly takes you to this 899, because after all you want to find out the score. Right now, remember, user has entered the column index number as well. So from this very column, we will offset the column and simply pick that value. This is the magic. This is the most powerful line. So you will simply go and write here that whatever the cell we have in at that point in time in the lookup, just we need to offset on the same row, but we will capture the column number. Which column number? Basically this column number, column index. And because offset starts from 0, you know that, right? So if you say column 3, then basically for offset from Andy, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So you will get the blank value. So my friend, make sure you go and subtract 1 from it. Okay, now once you have achieved what you wanted to achieve, there's no point of remaining in the loop. There's no point of keep looping. Okay, we have to exit to save the time. All right, so we can say exit for, and in case if the counter is not equals to nth that instance number, well then what you do, you just go and say else if, then you don't have to obviously publish anything. Okay, but imagine the first time when the Andy comes here. Okay, here you have Andy equals to Andy for the very first time, this one, right? When you go down here, your counter will be 1 because of this, and your nth parameter will be what? It is going to be 3 if the user has entered 3, right? So the next time this condition fails, and it should fail because this is the first Andy, the moment this goes in the else mode, please make sure to increment the counter by 1. Why I have to increment the counter? Because now you have found the first Andy, so the next time if I again find the same person in this table, in this range, my counter should be 2. So it keeps on checking, and the moment you find Andy equals to Andy and counter equals to nth instance, yes, bingo, we will immediately stop the code. Okay, and finally once you're done, and I should write here also else and if, this is for this, just in case if Andy is equals to something else, if it is not equals to, then you don't have to execute this if, it should immediately exit. Okay, and as a rule, function says that at the end of the story you must write the function name and then whatever the value you want to go and provide in the function itself. So this is very important, so you must go and write the function over here. Okay, and it will get the value called the store. Now let's reset the code and let us see that if we can do this. Now this is pretty easy. Let me go and reset the code and let's go and press enter again. Remember, we are checking the second instance of Andy. okay, and this has to be the third column, which means score, isn't it? So I go and press enter. If everything looks good, then your function will not give you the error first of all. Okay, so now let's go and run the program. So counter starts with 1. Okay, it's a kind of checker. It will check that if this instance, this counter is equals to this instance or not. The moment it finds this equals to this and also the name, yes, we will exit from the code. Okay, so for each mycell in the range, this is basically a loop. This will take care of my this range called C1 to C11. So the very first value you will get in this mycell.Value is name, obviously the header. You know it is not equal. So we go in the else, and then again let us check the another value, Andy. Now see this, your Andy and this Andy, they both are case, this is uppercase, this is actually a, you can say proper case, lowercase, whatever. This is a proper case A initial, the first initial is capital, but because we have written the option contain text, this will be equal. If you don't write this, then this is not going to be equal. This is a soft warning to all VBA developers here. Okay, now you see Andy is equals to Andy, there we go. But is your counter equals to the instance number which user provided? No, it is not, because counter is 1. So that means we found the Andy, but that is the first Andy. And we don't want the first Andy, we want the second Andy, isn't it? So let's go ahead and skip this part. Now once you have skipped this part, it is very important to basically increment this counter, so that the next time this counter should be 2, and then we can again go and cross verify if this is equals to nth or not. If you don't write this, you will never be able to satisfy this condition, isn't it? So counter now becomes 2, and finally again what is the next value? Next value is Cheryl, right? Is Cheryl equals to Andy? No. Let's quickly go again. The next value is Matt, the next value is Rajiv, and then now there is another Andy, I guess. Alright, so now you have entered here. Now once you have entered here, your counter actually is equals to what the user wanted, the second instance of Andy. Hail Andy, isn't it? So finally now you will do what? You will simply put this variable store, you will capture the value of this, what exactly I want to capture on the very same row where the Andy is, right? We are looking for the third column, third minus 3 minus 1 makes it 2. So basically offset will now go and pick on the very same row second column, 3 minus 1, 0, 1 and 2. So you should be able to see here 899. Can we go and check that? 899, bingo. And then we will exit from this loop, because I don't want to run this loop again. You may have here 50,000 records, so why we are going to waste our time? Our job is done. We want what we actually wanted. So finally we are done, and now this store will go inside your this function, and let's quickly go and check that. Wow, beautiful. So you are able to get this 899 so easily. Now this function is gonna be changing the entire project. You will be pretty famous for this unique automation. And I'll tell you one thing, we can cross check. Now what if I want the second instance of Andy, but I want, let's say, status. Now status is 2, so user will write 2, but in your program, remember 2 minus 1 will make it 1. So the moment I press enter, I should be able to see the status as male M, right? Oh wow, this is fantastic. Okay, now what happens if I write here one more score? For example, I write here status, maybe not the status, let's say skills. Okay, so I write here, let's say skills. These are the skills: BI, DAX, M code, Power Query, VBA, maybe Python, right? And then Excel, for example, Excel. Now you want the skill also. Now you want the Andy skill here. What do you have to do? You have already selected the right table, so you will simply go here in the column parameter, and now you will write this as what? 4. Your user will write 1 2 3 4, right? So the moment I write 4, I should be able to get exactly Power Query PQ. Wow, fantastic. Now let's say I have an Andy over here again, and I go and write this another number, and here let's say we go and write here Google Sheet. Okay, now this is what I need. For example, now what is the instance of this Andy over here? 1 2 and 3. So you have to go and write here 3, but before you press enter, make sure you go and give the correct range. Now it has to be C1 to C basically 12. Okay, the moment I press enter, we should be able to see what? We should be able to see Andy's skill as Google Sheet. Wow, this is fantastic, right? Now what if I go and insert more columns over here? If I go and insert more column here and I still need the this skill, what we are doing wrong here, because obviously now from here this is 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. So without changing anything, you just need to go and provide the right, actually the column number, which is 6. Okay, so you will never be able to get frustrated here. Okay, you don't have to restructure this formula because I created this code for you in that way. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed this Friday special. In case if you want to ask anything you didn't understand, because this is not actually a basic level VB programming, you can definitely leave a comment and I'll definitely get back to you. And yes, for your own benefit, I'm just gonna paste this function, this entire code in the comment section, in the description of the video. So go through it, practice it, and enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much. This is Ajay Parmar signing off. I'll see you then very soon.